afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. I'm Joanna Molina. I'm one of the co-founders of the Intern Group. Here at the Intern Group, we help you realize your potential through international internship programs. We offer remote, hybrid, and in-person opportunities to talent across the globe. So we invite you to take a look at our website. You can find out our different internship programs and offerings. And also feel free to send in an application and have a chat with one of our admissions consultants. My colleague Manami is going to be posting a link. Thank you, Manami. Fantastic. And I also want to give a quick shout out to our open learning platform. There is a sneak peek we want to share with you of courses based on real experiences for professional development. So take advantage of that. It's completely free. I encourage you to check it out. That's the link as well of our open learning platform. And for our program participants that are currently here, you already have access to the full learning platform and full access to all the courses. So don't forget to log in and into your account, take a look at all the courses and make the most of it. We are also going to be providing a certificate after this session. I'll let you know how. So towards the end, we'll send you a link. So stay until the end if you want to get it. Today's topic, as mentioned, is about entrepreneurship as an alternative career route. I'm sure that many of us have had some good business ideas, but it will go nowhere or unless you actually start an organization. So today we're going to be talking about all of that. We have our expert panelists today, all at different stages, with also adds up to this engaging conversation. And so let's jump into introducing our speakers. I'm super excited to introduce you to Tina, Sydney, and David. If you have any questions for our speakers during this conversation, let's make it very engaging, please. So you can post them here on the chat. You can also use our Slido, which is a system, a page where you can put your question either anonymous, or you can put your name, or you can even raise your hand, which is my preference. So we make it more engaging, and it's not just our voices, but we want to hear you. So let's start on getting to know each of our speakers. Please, can you please tell us a little bit about you, your career, who are you? What led you to decide to create an organization? Let's start maybe with you, Tina.
Sure. Thank you so much again for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to talk about my entrepreneurial journey. So I'm Tina, very nice to meet you. It was great to see some other Italians from Milan. I'm from Trieste, near Venice, let's say northeast of Italy. I grew up in a very international environment. I attended a Slovenian school, moved to then an Italian high school, where by the end of it, I felt I was not in the right environment for me or for what I wanted from my career. And that is why I moved to the UK, where I'm currently based. I'm in Oxford. And while I was studying my bachelor in business, the university really supported us in developing an idea and turning it into a business. So that's how Study was born. It started literally from a comment on Facebook where someone was posting about studying abroad and being worried, an Italian student being worried about how to do the application and how this person could study abroad. We comment on it saying that we could help him, and then after that we saw there was a lot of interest, so we created our website. And fast forward, we're here 7 years after, still helping a lot of mainly Italian students, but also some international. And in addition to my bachelor in business, I have decided to do a master in positive psychology and coaching, and a master in education, so that I could put together my business skills with education as well as coaching in what is my daily life with my students and my colleagues.
That is fascinating. We'll dive deeper into it. Thank you, Tina. How about you, Sydney?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm Sydney. I am originally from the US, and I am currently living in London, the UK. I actually had the pleasure of being an intern with the Intern Group. I did the Digital Nomad program 2 years ago and absolutely loved it. I got to spend 3 months traveling to 3 different countries, and I got to intern with a absolutely wonderful sort of startup business. It's a very small business, and I got to learn a little bit on how to grow a business, which I think is super helpful for me now. I started my own business about a year ago, and I'm still in the beginning stage of it, but I am super excited to see how it all goes and grow my own company. And then I also just have a background in neuroscience and data science and then journalism as well. So I've tried to kind of combine those throughout different internships and career trials and that sort of thing. And I think something, you might see if you look at my resume is it's okay to try things and decide that it's not really the direction you want to go and pivot on over to start your own business. So that's what I did.
Exactly. Just before we went live, I asked Sydney, well, how do you combine neuroscience with data science with journalism? What did you say, Sydney?
I said you start your own business. That's how.
Exactly. And so we'll learn more about you. So you've been 1 year. Tina has been 7 years with her startup. How about you, David?
So great to be with you, Joanna, Manami, Tina, and Sydney today, and all of our guests. So I'm co-founder of Joanna, CEO at the Intern Group. Our entrepreneurial journey started 16 years ago. So looking forward to getting into the questions shortly.
Absolutely fantastic. Excellent. Well, let's start with what has been so far the biggest reward and challenge on pursuing that entrepreneurial route. But I think, Tina, you kind of started with what sparked that decision of becoming. You saw a problem, you saw an opportunity. Maybe let's start with what was that moment that led you to say, okay, let's just create a company.
It was actually during my first internship. After finishing my first year at university, I interned in a company in Milan that was in the education field. They were doing more high school exchange, so not a lot of higher education, more high school exchange. And working there 2 months made me realize how I really value freedom, the possibility to share an idea and to see it in practice the next day without having to wait for someone to say yes or no. And in general, being able to create my career in a way that is aligned with who I am. So I feel every stage has their challenges and opportunities. So at the beginning, the hard part was getting that idea polished in a sense and making it specific, finding our niche and of course our audience. So that was the hardest part at the beginning. But at the same time, the positive things was that we were very naive. We thought we were the only business in this sector. So we were like, we're just the best. Like we're just gonna be ourselves and make it very personal. And that's how we created our own uniqueness. And of course, at the beginning, like the freedom, the opportunity to be creative was a great opportunity. Now, I think the biggest challenge is scaling. Of course, moving forward in 7 years, there's been a lot of projects that failed. So dealing with failure, dealing with risk, with uncertainty that the business has as one of its feature, not exception, but feature. And at the same time, I felt that I built a lot of experience in so many different areas that has opened up a lot of opportunities. For example, the past 2 weeks, I have been teaching business in a summer school, which was probably something that I wouldn't have had the occasion to do if I didn't start my own business. So I think, with years, you build a lot of experience that then you can use and in different areas, which is just great.
Fantastic. Before then, let's say before university, did you ever consider creating your own business, or at what point did you consider it?
I think it was a bit embedded in my family DNA because I have my parents who are entrepreneurs and my grandparents on both sides who are entrepreneurs. So I think it was just normal for me that, when you grow up, you start something of your own. That's just the way it is. At the beginning, I started with a small project in my town. I was lucky enough to have a mentor that really inspired me. I had so many ideas, and he just sat me down and said, just start it. Start it with whatever you have. Don't wait to have a degree. Don't wait to have that certificate you need to start that business. Just get started with what you have. Maybe you started on a smaller scale, and it was a really essential moment in my development because I had the chance to try out some of my ideas on a smaller scale without the same risk that I have potentially now. And I love the fact also that me and my co-founder started while doing university, where you have less responsibility, you don't have a family, so that has helped us be more open to trying things and having less fear of failure, which at the beginning was really essential. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm gonna move on to Sydney, but I just really quickly want to see from the people who are logged in right now, if you can react, if you have ever considered creating a startup or you have one. Like, have you ever considered that? Just want to see maybe some reactions. Okay. Yeah, lovely to see it. Some don't. Yeah, exactly. It's not for everyone. We're gonna go into it as well. Amazing. Yes. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Well, loads of you are considering. Excellent. So, Tina, 7 years, and you shared your story. Sydney, you've been 1 year. Tell us more about that. What sparked that idea of starting your own business, and what have been already the biggest challenges?
Yeah. And I mean, I must say the first year is not for the weak. It's there are a lot of challenges that come with that. But yeah, starting from the beginning. So about a year ago, I noticed a big problem in e-commerce. And that was the first idea I had. Maybe I'll start an e-commerce startup or something like that. And I noticed while I was learning about the industry that merchants usually hear about service outages. So if you use PayPal or Squarespace or any sort of other e-commerce business tools, and they have a service outage, let's say in the middle of the night, you're not going to know about it as the owner until the next morning when all of your customers start emailing you all angrily, oh my gosh, like what's going on? Why can't I check out? My friend wanted to, buy this product and it's not working, all that stuff. And tons of people are dealing with this on a daily basis. So in order to come up with a way to fix that, I built Statusbird to monitor uptime for these specific tools for e-commerce companies. So the software sends real-time alerts through text message and Slack to these e-commerce owners, so they can know before it actually, becomes a problem and they lose money when these tools stop working.
Amazing. And so far, what would you say are the biggest rewards and challenges?
Yeah, I would think, it's definitely tough when you're really passionate and excited about a new project, and then it takes a while for it to get up and started. And, kind of making it through those first couple of months when I was just kind of, putting out ads here and there, waiting, a lot of waiting, being patient, So I would say, yeah, just keep going and believe in yourself that at some point it's going to take off. Because I'm sure there are many moments that you're going to come and just feel like, maybe this is the wrong decision, but you can't think like that. You just got to keep going.
Do you already have some clients?
Yes, I do.
What do
very
they tell
exciting.
you about the product that you build? Like, tell us
Yeah,
more
I
about.
mean, I made it to solve this major issue, but I wanted it to be quite a niche subscription for people. So yeah, it solves a very specific problem for everyone. So as long as it does that, then my customers are satisfied. So that works for me. Of course, you're always going to have competitors in the industry, but as long as you at least have something that is super unique to your business, it's going to go somewhere.
Fascinating. David, how about you? How did the idea of becoming an entrepreneur started?
Thank you, Joanna. So, really interesting to hear Tina and Sydney. Tina, unlike you, I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I never even thought about setting up a business, to be honest. I went down a very almost cookie cutter path of school to university. And then when I was about 21 and thinking, what jobs to do, the honest, embarrassing truth is I spoke to so many of my peers and everyone seemed to kind of really not enjoy their jobs. So with zero critical thinking, I thought, okay, well, if everyone seems to hate their jobs, I should at least go for one that's like reasonably well paid. Zero logic, really silly. And without doing an internship, applied to work in an investment bank. Quickly realized after having got on paper a very good job, actually, you know what? I should have done an internship. Finance isn't the career path for me. And actually, there's loads of people who love their jobs. I need to do something that really inspires me. And that was when, with Joanna, our other co-founder Lee, we thought, okay, well, what could we do something we're really passionate about? And my experience overseas doing an internship abroad was something where I was super passionate about and thinking, well, if that was so brilliant on a personal level and it helped me get this really desirable job on paper, which actually I didn't really love in practice, well, maybe if we just make international internships a normal part of education, then that's something I could get really passionate about. So and then fast forward 15 years, we've now got 150 university partners, 15,000 alumni who we care very much about. And yeah, the challenges wild over the years. I mean, the leap from sort of security of a good job into intrinsic uncertainty, what Sydney and Tina, you touched on, intrinsic uncertainty at every point, financial risk, when you own every outcome with no safety net whatsoever. I on the chat just before we came into this call, I was very honest. I was like, really, the vast majority of people should not do this career path. It is a recipe for bad mental health or broken relationships, or maybe 5 to 10% of people, it's brilliant. But for most people, do not touch it with a barge pole would be my advice. And that's kind of summing up the challenges. We'll come on to rewards later, but the challenges are stark and should not be underestimated. And actually, if you do come from a family of entrepreneurs like you do, Tina, they'll probably say that it's not for everyone as well.
Exactly. I've been making notes here as well. There's not a formula, right? But I've been hearing a lot from all of you. You all started because of a problem. So you identified a problem in students, in e-commerce, in your own, etc. And the word passion is being mentioned from each one of you as well. Do you think that, what else will you add, let's say, to the equation? Do you think if I am one of the people here in the call saying, I want to create my own business because I want to become a millionaire in a short period of time, will that work? Because I agree with you, David, it's definitely not for everyone. It requires a good problem, but a problem that you actually fall in love with, with passion, otherwise you wouldn't be able to do so. What would you say to those people, Sydney, for example?
You're mute.
Nice. I would say it helps if you know if you have knowledge within the industry. So for me, for example, I studied computer science sort of for fun a lot of my life, and then I ended up getting a master's in data science, and that prompted me to have the ability to start my own software company. If I hadn't have had that computer science knowledge, I don't think I would have really had the skill set to do it on my own. I think it depends on, are you trying to solve an issue by yourself, or can you bring in, other skills from other people involved? So that was something that personally really helped me, was just having a skill set that I could use.
What is that skill set? I'd love to dive deeper into what do you think is the skill set that an entrepreneur requires?
In general, I would say skill set that you most likely need is communication. If people don't know, if people don't understand what your company can do, they won't have a reason to, to want it. So, yeah, I would say communication is probably the key, and then everything after that can follow.
Tina, what other skills you think are a must-have?
Yes, I think there is one element in addition to skills that I think is very important around mindset is, because you're quite lonely while you set up your own business, is just you yourself and I, in a sense that you really need to have that way of thinking where a problem will come. Again, feature of life. We have problems. We have things outside of our control. In our case, Brexit and COVID. You get all emotional about it. You try to get over your emotion for maybe a few days or a few weeks, whatever you need. And then you try to see, okay, how can this become an opportunity for me? For us, Brexit was an opportunity to develop new markets. Probably if it wasn't for Brexit, we wouldn't extended our business to 7 different countries. We'll be probably continuing only with the UK. COVID has helped us develop our support program while the student is abroad, because we realize, okay, once they're abroad, they're all by themselves, they have many challenges. So again, another opportunity to develop something interesting for the business and for the clients. And also the idea, again, like the mindset that you have around failure, like most of businesses fail within their first year. And then even if you don't fail within the first year, you have projects that are going to fail. And I definitely have seen that percentage in this 7 years. Probably the first year I was all confident, but then I can see there are things, again, sometimes out of our control. Sometimes maybe you fell in love with an idea more than what the demand is for that idea or what the customer really wants. So it will happen that within your business, you will have projects that will fail, and you need to be ready to feel like failure is just one step closer to success. The faster you fail, the fastest you get to your success. And that's probably a mentality that I haven't found in Italy. I find it here in the UK quite a lot, but I know the US is even more in terms of this way of looking at things, which I think is great for an entrepreneur.
100%. Will you add any other skills, David? Communication, growth mindset, accepting failure?
Yes. And before adding onto those good ones, I want to come back to one of the questions you asked, which should you be an entrepreneur to become a millionaire? No, that would be the most terrible decision, because ultimately, as Tina said, the vast majority of businesses fail. Secondarily, if your primary aim is financial benefit, your chances of success, I would argue, are dramatically lower. If your primary aim is making a product or service that, and all products and services can be improved, but that you're proud of and that brings value to others, and any financial success is a secondary consequence of that, then your chance of success is far higher. So yeah, do not start a business to become a millionaire. There are a myriad of traditional career paths where your chance of financial success are dramatically higher. So if that's your primary motivator, don't do it. It's fine for it to be a secondary consequence of having made a great product or service, but that can't be your primary motivator. On to skill sets. So yeah, Sydney and Tina mentioned a few. Communication, completely agree with. I'd say that I would complement that by saying like obsession with sales. And what do I mean by sales? I don't mean I sell you something, you pay me, but I actually mean more persuasion, communication, influence. I'd say the number one skill set is sales in that holistic sense, so that customers can believe in you, so that team members can believe in you, so that investors, if you go down an investment path, which again, most people shouldn't, but if you do, believe in you, so that co-founders believe in you. Everything comes back down to, can you get people to believe in you? That is selling. What else to add that hasn't been said already? I think, Tina, you touched on another one that I think is huge. You said it in your own words. I'd say tolerance for ambiguity. I mean, that one is just massive. You know, the bottom line is, I think most entrepreneurs, and way more successful ones than me, would say 90% is horrendous, and then there's brief moments of euphoria. It's really tough, and things come out of nowhere. There are no processes. On a typical day, things can be very calm, and then a gigantic fire explodes. So that mental flexibility and tolerance for ambiguity, and that's crucial. What else would I say? I think, Tina, you mentioned about, and this is for people who are really in entrepreneurship for the long term. The honest truth is, if your motivations are in the right place, primarily offering value to others, primarily making a good service or product, ultimately, you only need one success. Maybe you have 5 businesses in a row and they all fail. And then you have one killer success. There's many very successful entrepreneurs who've had that, and they experience success at older age, in their 60s. And that's great too. So if you are committed to this path and you can tolerate the horrendousness that it would be, and failures, and different countries and cultural contexts, as has been said, have a different tolerance for failure, the United States being the best for this. But if you are prepared for the long run, and you're thinking in terms of decades, and you're prepared to have failures, then you only need to be successful once, which is actually great to have in mind. What else would I say? Crucial skill set, absolute discipline with cost control. You know the phrase, it's a cliche, cash is king. Don't run out of cash. What else would I say? Last 2 that I will add in. I think this is more as you're growing a bigger team. You know, when it's a small, tight-knit group, it's a bit different. But as you get bigger, maintaining high bars on performance, who's on the bus, the same people who you start the journey with might not be the same people in the middle, and might be the same people at the end. So striving to always raising the bar of people who you're working with is crucial. And I think maybe the last one I'd add is shared vision, right? What's the purpose that you're aiming for? Something where I think Joanna, my co-founder, is particularly good, is on shared purpose. Our shared purpose is making international internships a normal part of higher education, making that experience that I had in Latin America, where I did everything DIY, just a normal part of higher education, where many people in their degrees are doing international internships abroad and online, developing those cultural understandings, developing those work skills that are going to serve them for the long term. And ultimately, what we call our big, hairy, audacious goal is getting to where we're serving our partner universities and getting to 10,000 students a year doing our programs. that shared purpose unites our organization, because a lot of people can really get behind helping people and universities realize their potential. And that's what really motivates me, realizing their potential. Now, that just happens to work for us. But I think it's crucial skill set for entrepreneurship. Can you communicate your vision, as Sydney said, and can you get people to buy into it? Because when you're hiring a team, yes, if you pay decent or good salaries, you can get people's hands, but how can you get their hearts? Only if they believe in the shared vision that you are leading.
100%. 100%. I mean, I echo what you say. We have to 100% love what we are doing, like fall in love with what you're doing. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work. I would probably add curiosity in the wider sense of constantly changing. So things are constantly changing, but not just outside, inside. Like the entrepreneur Joanna Molina that is here 16 years later is not the same that was 16 years ago. So one has to kind of reinvent itself, oneself constantly, and particularly today in the world that we are living in. And so, yeah, loads of good advice and skills there. And we have a lot of questions as well coming in from our attendees. So I'm going to start. How do you get started with implementing the idea on your own? What if you don't have the connections or network to get started? Who'd like to take this one first?
I can say a few words on that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I would say you can start building the smallest possible functional version of your solution just to prove the concept works. And then, especially if you don't have, a network yet, and focus strictly on solving, the core problem, and you can worry about scaling the business later, as long as you have that core product and it's actually working and it's going to solve problems. That's when you can start worrying about other areas.
How about you, David? How do you develop that network? How do you start from idea to execution?
So I think Sydney's point was really good on testing. That also reduces risk. What should be coming out clearly is this is a high risk path. So whatever you can do to reduce risk, the better. I think the question was about a lack of connections, right? So there's actually some really interesting organizations. I've just put one in the chat there called Entrepreneurs First. They have it all around the world, but especially in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, but have a click on that link. This is literally for people who want to do the entrepreneurial path, don't necessarily have the connections, would like to meet a brilliant co-founder and would like to validate an idea that they might have been testing, like Sydney mentioned. So there's lots of these sort of entrepreneurial organizations that are springing up that could be the perfect place to meet your ideal co-founder, for example.
Wonderful. Tina, anything on network? How did you build your network? How did you go from idea to execution?
I think the network is particularly important nowadays. Like with AI, anyone can come up with an idea. Like the idea stage is not as important in the sense that innovation is paid, but only a little is the audience you have built in time. So whether it is maybe some of you here have social media skills, so they want to create maybe an audience through social media by sharing their work they do, making it live through YouTube or TikTok or a live session on Instagram. So starting have your first 10, 20 people following you. And I really agree also with what Sydney was saying in terms of having like a smaller version. Like the first product with the first service that we started offering was a 15 pound 1 hour session with me. That was a consultancy call with me. That's where we started. Whereas now, like after 7 years, we have built a bigger package. We know with the platform, etc. So like it's normal that you start small, also to test what the people need and how to adapt to their demand, and then you build it further. So having that smaller version of your service is great. Yeah.
Exactly, it's key. Pilot, as David said, also reduces the risk. And you are never going to be 100% ready. Like, don't expect anything to be perfect. It's just about being also a bit scrappy and just go through it and just launch and kind of iterate. Because sometimes a lot of people get kind of frozen by wanting something to be perfect, which is never going to be, at least not in entrepreneurship. And on that same point on the idea, we have another question. So what's the best process of going from idea to startup, and how do you acquire a team of like-minded individuals to join you?
I have an
Lina.
interesting story around like-minded people that join me. I think what has been great and quite a surprise for us was that the students that we have advised, supported, once they arrived abroad, they wanted to give back to other students. So we started employing our own customer after they reached a certain point where they were then becoming advised. Of course, not all of them, but a group that then want to advise other students, become mentor, helping us with our social media. So for us, it was the people who trusted us first, gone through the process, know the process very well, are excited about the opportunity they have experienced, and usually wants to give back and wants to be part of the team. So that is what happened to us in terms of finding like-minded people.
Fascinating. No one can give you also more credibility than your own clients as well, like being part of your team, etc. David, anything to add?
Yeah, something I would add to the question about people to join you. I'd say two things, and I think this would have, very few people give textbooks on entrepreneurship, right? It's all anecdotes. But I think two things on people to join you. It's going back to that idea of shared purpose. So does the person who you might be evaluating to be a co-founder or a team member, are they genuinely moved by the purpose of what you're building? Because if they're not, then it's pointless. So that's the first thing. Then if it's at the very beginning and you've got an idea that maybe you validated and you're looking for maybe someone to do it with or more people to do it with, then advice I would give is, you should treat this almost as seriously as like a marriage. And how complementary are the skill sets? So I think it's very easy for first-time founders to get carried away by, I want to do it with Joan or Jim because they really believe in it. Great, but that's the baseline. That's like the baseline. How complementary their skill set? You might be better at sales and marketing. Are they better at finance and technology? If you've got the exact same skill set, they're probably not the best match to be a co-founder. And I think that's just like a practical tip I would give people.
You are spot on. I think when we started, I did say to you, David, we're getting married before actually getting married.
Yeah, you did.
Sydney, do you have any team members? Tell us about that stage as well. And when did you decide to bring on people into your startup?
Yeah, so I do not have any team members. I've been doing this alone for the past year. So sometimes it takes a while to find people that you're even willing to bring on. So and I'm staying hopeful. I'm not discouraged by that. I think I'm proving to myself that I can keep myself and my head above water. So yeah, I would say don't stress if it takes a year to find other people.
Sydney, I just want to jump in there because I think that's so good. And solo founders are amongst the people I respect the most. And often it's the right decision to stay solo or not settle. It sounds like you could be open to other people in the future, And it's great that you're not making a premature decision, settling, or just keeping your options open. Optionality is crucial. So I think just want to say like big thumbs up on that answer.
Exactly. And that applies not only to founders, but also to team members. Like, is the number of people you have in the organization is not necessarily a metric of success. Sometimes organizations just go wild hiring without the needs of that. And that's the recipe for failure as well. And so just be very careful around those vanity metrics, as we also call it internally in the organization. Awesome advice, and good one for you, Sydney. Another one. So, how to deal with practical aspects like funding? How much of your own personal funds should we have as a cushion before starting our own business venture? Tina.
It depends on the situation. We haven't paid, me and my other co-founder, we haven't paid ourselves for the first 2 years before we were able to start and get maybe like £500 a month, something like this to start with. But for us, it was okay because we were at university, so we could have done probably a part-time job instead of starting our own business if we needed the money. But because we wanted to really invest in our future career, we decided to put that time into creating our own business. But probably if I was to start a business now, then of course for who I am also as a person, I would like to have a few months at least, potentially a bit more of security, whether that is given by a job that I continue doing on the side of my own business or whether that is saving. That really depends on the person. So I think you need to first realize which, responsibility do you have as a person, and also how you feel more comfortable as a person. Again, we talk about risk, uncertainty. You need to know how you feel about those. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so I was living in New York City for about 4 years, and I was working a 9 to 5 in the office, and then I would go home and I worked my side hustle until late in the evening. When I quit that job, decided to go back to school, and then of course now I've started my own company. I kept that side hustle. So yeah, when Tina's talking about, if she did it again, she would want possibly another source of income just to survive those first years or however long it takes to be in the positives. That is me. Yes. So I think something that's saved my my business right now is just the fact that I have another source of income to help me sort of bootstrap it.
On that note about bootstrapping, I'd like to jump in. If, take my approximations as good faith estimates, but if probably entrepreneurship as a career path only really makes sense for about 5 to 10% of people. Within that 5 to 10% of people, venture capital and these big, sexy investment rounds you read about in the press is probably a further 5 to 10% of the 5 to 10%. It is the most high stress path you can go down. It works for businesses that really need lots of capital, that really need lots of money. But the exciting thing is, and it was already happening 10 to 20 years ago, but it's even more now, you can start great businesses that don't require lots of money. You can reduce your risk, like Sydney's saying, by starting actually as a side hustle on weekends. And this concept of bootstrapping. So for people who don't know what that means, that's basically doing everything on a very lean budget. And if you're charging for your product or service up front, you can actually start to fund your growth from your customers' cash, which is the lowest risk way to do it. It's slower to bootstrap, but it would be, I think, the way to go for the vast majority of people considering this path, I would suggest.
Yes, 100%. It definitely is not for everyone, although it sounds very fancy. Once again, it is not like how many employees you have or how much have you raised. Raising money doesn't necessarily is all flowers. It's quite hard and not every company needs it, as we have heard already. So on that point, what's the best way to approach investors to cover the last part of the question from Eve?
I don't have enough knowledge to share anything about this topic, so I'll let other people speak.
So by investors, there's two main types when you're getting going. There's angel investors, which are reasonably wealthy individuals who might back you. There are friends and family, and there is venture capital. Private equity is normally later on down the line when you're quite a bit bigger. But I mean, friends and family is how lots of people do it. Angel investors, there's lots of communities, again, in person and online, where you can see angel investors who are potentially interested in the service or product you want to launch. And then there's the very high standard, high risk, high stress route of venture capital, which for all of these, you'll need like a deck, it's called, which is essentially a presentation about your company, who you're doing it with, what the problem is you're looking to solve, what the market looks like, why your solution is the right one. In terms of difficulty and almost sequence and how you might want to approach these people, it would be friends and family first, followed by angel investors, followed by venture capital firms. It really is a chicken and egg situation. Just like when we started the Intern Group, we had no track record. It's really hard to get anyone to take you seriously. It's horrible. Another skill that wasn't mentioned, that should be mentioned in entrepreneurship, is you should be prepared to be told no 1,001 times. It's horrible. You'll be told your idea is rubbish. You'll be told you're rubbish. You'll be told. So just get used to that. You have to develop really thick skin, and that can be tough for people who it doesn't come naturally to. But yeah, I would say to answer the practical question asked, how to approach investors, make a 10-page max investment deck. You can see online examples and start practicing. Friends and families, followed by angel investors, and very last, only once you've got friends or family or angel investors to invest, would you approach venture capital firm.
Fantastic. Time is really flying. We have a few more questions. Let's go with, when things started to get tough and there are some downfalls or failures, what can you do to build the business up again? And I'd like to also maybe bring up Tina, because you started prior to the pandemic, and David, any examples as well that you can share? How do you build the up again when things started to get tough?
So I think one thing that helped us was to, before the pandemic and Brexit came, was to really work on what we knew and what would make us unique, and to put the word out there. So we already had two websites, and social media started. So in that way, what happened was that during the year of Brexit, we were lucky, but I try not to use the word luck because it's not always only luck, it's that you do something to get lucky. A person found us online who was studying in Ireland. And she said, I analyzed your business. I think you're missing an opportunity, particularly now with Brexit. You should help Italian students come and study in Ireland. I can be your advisor. I have gone through the process. Let me help you. But this opportunity came only because we continue to put ourselves out there. We kept the website up. We tried to keep like business as usual while we were figuring out how to manage it. And Brexit was, of course, on one part, a huge problem, but at the same time, more students need support because of the visa now. Most students feel that studying in the UK is becoming more difficult, so they are more relying on an agent like us. The university started paying higher commission, so there is still an opportunity that has come also from this challenge.
Great example, Tina. David, any of the many examples you want to share?
Yeah. I mean, I think Tina, your ones are great, and I think the key message is there's going to be horrible moments. I mean, COVID for us was horrendous. Our revenue dropped by 90%. We almost went bankrupt. We've had numerous times like this, sort of a few years ago around that time. It was horrendous, horrendous. What keeps you going? Again, it comes back to that purpose. If your purpose is, I want to be rich, that'll be the end of it because there's nothing fueling you. But if your purpose is, the world will be better with this product or service, and I really believe in it, then it keeps you up, it keeps you fighting. And there's moments when you want to throw the towel in, but achieving that vision that is a fire inside you, it keeps you going. So I think the most important thing is how much do you believe in your mission? Because if you believe in it 100%, you won't give up. And that raw grit, Grit, is like the best entrepreneurs have unlimited grit.
If I can add to that, I think, David, you made a great point. What I did only this year, I should have done it earlier, is also like to take a picture of all the positive reviews and feedback of clients. So sometimes when you're in that business for a long time, you might not forget the purpose because that's always there, but you don't feel it as hard as at the beginning and as strongly as the beginning. So just by reading some of our reviews or some of the feedback, receiving certain messages, they don't come all the time, of course, because the student usually tells you at the end that they are being happy, but it reminds you why you're doing what you're doing. And so most of the feedback will come from your clients. So it will be mainly the feedback on the service you deliver, not on you as a person, not on your work. So that's another thing you need to get used to. If you work for someone else, probably they will give you feedback, they will review your performance. But if you work for yourself, is you yourself doing the review. So again, a lot of self-confidence and self-awareness, and having a great network of other entrepreneurs can make a difference. Yeah.
100%. Sydney, anything you'd like to share on
Yeah, I would say I still, I'm still sort of beginning. So I think something that I am doing now before I have, something, go wrong or a challenge like this is try to prepare a little bit, put away some extra cash, just so that I can have that emergency fund if it's ever needed in the future, because you can never know what's going to happen. None of us knew COVID was going to happen. So yeah, I think that's something that I'm doing as a sort of just beginning entrepreneur.
Great advice. And I can't believe it. We are now reaching the end of the event. I think we can agree that it's been such an amazing session. We could be speaking here for hours. I could be hearing you, Tina, Sydney, and David for days. Maybe we need a part 2 of this, potentially at a different time zone. So our people in APAC is also more friendly for them. But I think before leaving, we promised you to unlock a certificate. So our colleague Manami is going to be sharing a link. So how do you get the certificate? It will be posted very soon. Before we all go, I'd love to hear from you, like a leaving comment to everyone who's here and is wanting to start their career or consider potentially a career in entrepreneurship. Any advice, any final thoughts, any phrase, anything you'd like to share before we say goodbye. Tina.
Yes, two things. One, have that long-term vision in mind. One thing that I wanted to mention about a phrase you said earlier, Joanna, about I want to get rich as an entrepreneur and fast. So you need to cut that fast also. So David's going to cut the rich and I'm going to cut the fast, because that's definitely, again, not the case. So having that long-term vision about, your end goal in terms of like what type of if I have to share mine, would be to bring a change in the Italian education system, because having experience studying abroad, I definitely want some change in Italy, but I know that it's not going to happen tomorrow. I know that Mattarella is not going to call me and be like, Tina, can you give me an advice on how I can change the university here? So I need to build on that. So that helps me having this long-term vision every day, because I think, okay, I'm building that. I'm building one step at a time, that end goal. And the other thing is, forget about motivation. That's not gonna be your daily thing that you have. You're gonna have discipline. That's what's going to help you get where you want to get. It's the only way where you, even if you wake up not feeling motivated, if you have that discipline of, okay, today I have this goals, I have this task, I have these things I want, these results I want to bring to my business, then I can be consistent. You don't rely on motivation. It's not trustworthy.
Thank you, Tina. Sydney.
Yeah, I would say I might try to keep it simple, but I would say start before you feel completely ready, because you can wait forever if you try to do that. And so, and the fastest way to learn is through experience. You can always go through trial and error. But if you don't, if you never start, then you're not going to have that experience.
It's so true. It's so true. You have a no. If you don't start, the no is guaranteed. At least try. David?
I would say do something that you truly believe in. Do it with people who truly believe in it and have complementary skill sets. Keep your integrity. Realize that it will be far tougher than you can ever imagine. It will probably fail, but you only need to succeed once.
Thank you, everyone. And I will also say, as an entrepreneur, that to all of you who are here, we all have, we're living incredible times. Like, honestly, I'm a very optimistic person, and I feel like we are living in incredible times in terms of opportunities, but at the same time, we all have the capacity and even the responsibility of making this world a better place. And so each one of you, whichever that looks like, creating a company or inside someone else's company, you have that opportunity to be an entrepreneur or intrapreneur, whatever. Just like you can build your life in the best way that you want it for you. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be creating other events, of course, different topics, etc. But thank you, Sydney, Tina, and David. It's been absolutely fantastic having you here. Manami, as always, you are wonderful. And to all the questions, we didn't even cover them all. So again, thank you for all the engagement, and have a lovely rest of your day, afternoon, evening. See you guys very, very soon.